Tony Stewart and Dodge have made their marriage official in the NHRA, but don't let that stop you from speculating Dodge to NASCAR, which should be on the path to happening, and it would seem that Tony would be the keystone for the program if it does happen. We'll be talking about that and much more racing news. A ton of stuff has been breaking today, so we'll get into that first. So Connor Daly has been announced today as the full-time driver for the number 20 Ed Carpenter racing car in IndyCar. He's bringing crypto sponsor BitNile to IndyCar, and that's the reason why this is happening, because he did lose Air Force as a major sponsor over the offseason. Daly's biggest highlight last year was leading the most laps in the Indianapolis 500, but I think expectations can be a little bit higher for his season this year, as it will be the first time since 2017 that Daly has driven for the same team all year. Team owner Ed Carpenter will still pilot the traditional third oval-only entry in 2022. IMSA has announced a 61-car entry list for the 60th Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona, the highlight of this being the 13-car debut of the new GT Daytona Pro class that is replacing the much-beloved GT-LM. On this channel, there will be coverage of both the Roar and the 24 Hours, as well as a sort of preview that will help you through the huge entry list and make you a more informed viewer of the race. Speaking of sports cars, we got our first look and listen at the Porsche Penske LMDH Challenger. Here it is. Juan Pablo Montoya has been announced as the third driver for our McLaren SP during the month of May in Indianapolis. He'll be driving the Mission Foods number 6 Chevrolet. It'll be the first time the number 6 will appear in IndyCar competition since the 2018 season finale. The 6 car is expected to run the majority of post-Indy 500 races with a different driver. The 6 was originally reserved for the IndyCar return of Robert Wickens, and unfortunately, it doesn't appear that that's going to happen anytime soon. But there is good news for Wickens fans, as Robert Wickens will return to racing for the first time since his horrible crash at Pocono with Brian Herta Autosport and their Hyundai TCR team in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Championship. Wickens tested this car with hand controls at Mid-Ohio last year, and certainly for all fans of auto racing, this is a welcome return, and we wish Robert Wickens a luck, and of course we'll be keeping a track of what Wickens is up to in that car. Jacques Villeneuve intends to compete in the Daytona 500 for Hesburgh's Motorsports. He is the 39th confirmed entry for the 500, and it's going to come down to the wire as if whether that field will be filled or not. I would lean toward the opinion that Villeneuve would be the last entry because supply chain issues are hitting NASCAR hard with its new car now, and at this moment it seems impossible to get a 40-car field. And it's official. The big story that many an NHRA and NASCAR fan have been looking forward to for most of December, that Tony Stewart's NHRA team will be sponsored by Dodge as not just a manufacturer, but a sponsor that will be footing the bill, has been confirmed today. This partnership keeps drivers Leah Pruitt and Matt Hagan within the Dodge family, and of course, will begin the earnest speculation of what the future may hold for Tony Stewart and Dodge, perhaps in other series. And of course, that other series that we're going to be talking about is the NASCAR Cup Series. It is heavily rumored at this point. In fact, it was even addressed by Steve Phelps himself that Dodge would be returning to NASCAR in the next few years, likely when the hybrid engines come in around 2024. Seemingly, Dodge is now in prime position to add Tony Stewart's NASCAR team to their arsenal should they decide to come back to NASCAR. So, Dodge, at least near the end of November, is about 80% ready to run in NASCAR. Now, the question that came up in December was, Dodge is getting rid of the Challenger and Charger by 2024, and they're going to introduce electric vehicles, including an electric muscle car. Now, the question would be, how would Dodge run a NASCAR program fit into that lineup? And I think it's fairly simple. Show me where you can buy a V8 Toyota Camry, a rear-wheel drive V8 Toyota Camry. Exactly. So what Dodge can do is use NASCAR and the Cup Series to market the body shell of whatever their new electric muscle car is, and it'll probably end up being over a hybrid V8 engine underneath the next-gen chassis. But that won't matter because NASCAR isn't stock car racing right now. It is a stock car, but the car is not stock. So as a marketing exercise and likely a kind of olive branch to traditional NASCAR or traditional Dodge fans as well, Dodge could come back to NASCAR, and I think they will do it through Tony Stewart. Now, something you guys need to pay attention to is what Stewart-Haas Racing is doing this year, and one of the important things that they have done this year is they have partnered very closely with Rick Ware Racing. In fact, SHR was running Cody Ware's Rick Ware Racing Mustang at the Daytona 500 test this week. What I've heard is that Stewart-Haas Racing, if Dodge comes, would move, and Rick Ware Racing, as a aligned team with Stewart-Haas, would also move. So you would have two anchor teams for Dodge. So it'll be very interesting to see how this partnership flourishes, and I think that there are some people who are making legitimate points that this means nothing because Tony Stewart is running a Dodge in the NHRA. He can run a Ford in NASCAR. After all, Chip Ganassi ran 4 different manufacturers in 4 different series at one point. I know that there's a point to that. I totally agree with you. The difference is that as a business move, if Dodge comes to NASCAR, it will be good. You have to look at the position that Tony Stewart and Gene Haas are in NASCAR. Penske is obviously going to be a major pillar of the Ford camp, probably the first. Roush now, especially with Keselowski being over there, they're also right back up there. Front Row Motorsports, they're also heavily associated with Roush, and they also won the Daytona 500 last year. So that's 3 teams in the pecking order of the Ford camp that are currently ahead of SHR, despite the fact that Stewart-Haas Racing is a huge team and gets big drivers. SHR, if they want to reach the next level, would be wise to move manufacturers, and I think a lot of people don't think about that how it wasn't a long time ago when they switched from Chevy to Ford and had an incredible season with Kevin Harvick and Ford in 2018 and in 2020, and everybody thought at that point that SHR was married to Chevy. So it's safe to say that SHR is definitely not married to a manufacturer. It's also clear with this NHRA deal that Dodge is willing to spend money on Tony Stewart. So we'll just have to see. By the way, I think this is great for the NHRA to have Tony Stewart involved, and hopefully I'll be able to cover at least one event in the NHRA this year. That'll definitely be a first for me. So once again, the big news is that Tony Stewart and Dodge's partnership in the NHRA that has been rumored for a while now has been confirmed. I guess we'll just have to see where things are headed in the future, and you'll know I'll be there, and my channel will be here to break it down for you. So be sure to subscribe because when the news breaks, we'll be talking about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Mad Dog Matt on YouTube, and I'll see you in the next video.